Hi, and welcome to Cathy Reisenwitz, and I'm hosting today. My name is Lauren Rumpler, and I'm Objectivist Girl. So you can check me out on Facebook at my Objectivist Girl page. That's the best place to check me out. And today we're going to talk about the morality of sleeping around, because I know that there's been a lot of questions since I was on Cathy's show about whether objectivism and sleeping around are compatible. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, we're going to go over a little bit of the news. So I guess the NRA has decided that open carry is an issue. And I thought this was really surprising coming from the NRA to state that they don't like open carry. I guess it scares people. What do you think, Robert?
Well, I think that the NRA has been co-opted. They've been bought and paid for by some group that I don't know, has some money to throw around and leverage influence. So unfortunately, I would have to say to all NRA members who believe in the right to bear arms that they no longer deserve your support. That you should move on to another group that actually does support the open carry policies. Not even just open policies, but just in general open carrying, because the whole point of being able to carry a gun is that you can defend yourself and others around you with that gun. And one of the best ways of defending others around you with a gun is not using it, but having it. And it's there for people to see, hey, wait a minute, if I go ahead and start going, try to go on a rampage here, I'm probably going to get a bullet in the brain. So maybe they should rethink that and realize that the best use of a gun is the deterrence that it creates by just being visible.
Right. I think that two things come into play as being an objectivist for me is, first of all, I agree with you entirely. I think that it's always best to display the gun because you're less likely to have to use it because people are deterred from wanting to use their gun with more guns in the room. I think a lot of shootings wouldn't have happened if the people in the location had been armed. You'll notice that if you look at the statistics, the places that are shot up the most are schools and malls and other places where people aren't allowed to carry guns. So statistically, showing a weapon is going to end up doing more good than harm. And secondly, the other thing that I don't like is that you have to have a license in order to conceal a gun. So for me personally, I am much more prone to want to open carry because I don't want to have to get that licensing from the state, because I don't think that the state has any right to tell me whether I can carry a gun or not for my own protection. Right, Robert? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. The thing that if you have a very small percentage of the population that has guns, that carry them around, and then you have criminals who are going to try to do their activities, like robbing a place or something like that. If you only have a very small percentage of the population that has these guns, having an open carry policy, if you guys are all open carrying, then you're missing an opportunity to prevent crime, because they'll be able to detect, all right, well, that guy got a gun. I'm going to go somewhere else, and then they find a place where nobody has a gun out. Well, that's when they strike. Okay, well, if you have a very small number of people doing concealed carry, they don't know where it is that they're at, so they have to second guess themselves everywhere that they go. Is there going to be a concealed carry person here? So concealed carry actually is a better course of action in certain respects, but if you have a significant portion of the population, let's say 35% or so, then you're going to have, in any group that's of any significant size, you're going to have at least one person that's going to be having a gun available that they can see, and then it discourages all activities that would be, violent. Of course, sometimes they might just choose to shoot the person who has the gun first, but in general, it prevents more by if you're going to have a large percentage of the population, like 35% or more, then it's better to do open carry. But if you have a smaller percentage, then I think it's better to do a concealed carry, just because of the way the dynamics work as far as preventing criminals from acting.
Interesting. I think you make some really good points. I would say that I have to mostly overall agree with what you've just said. So I guess the next thing that I want to talk about is Rand Paul. So Rand Paul has decided that he wants to, I guess, hijack the Republican Party. He's made comments recently about opening the Republican Party to the Libertarian movement, and I don't think this is going to play well if he actually wants to win office. I think he's a lot more ballsy than his dad, that's for sure. So recently he came out in support of a libertarian movement inside the Republican Party, and he also called for reforming the criminal justice system so that it doesn't disproportionately hit minorities and poor people, social choice, and promoting policies that help economic development in poorer areas. So what do you think, Robert? Do you think he's got any chance of winning now that he's, gone full libertarian?
Well, I think that if at one point in time there was a question that a lot of us in libertarian circles were asking: is Ron Paul grooming his son to infiltrate the Republican Party and then oust them, so to speak, from the platforms that they normally take? And I think that if that's the case, he's doing it wrong. He needed to actually get elected into office, and let's say we had a president of the United States who was a Republican, who then went and said, I'm setting a new path for the Republican Party. We are now going to X, Y, and Z. He would have that pulpit to be able to do so. I don't think that he has the strength of position to be able to do so. I think that the Republican entrenchment, the group that actually controls the Republican Party, they're going to shut him out. He's going to not get anywhere, just like his father was shut out, and it's gonna fail, and that's a shame. I think that we would love to see a major party like the Republican Party actually get to what it is that they say that they stand for, which is limited government. And unfortunately, he blew it, I think.
Yeah, I think he definitely went out way too early. I think with Ron Paul, he made a good move in not mentioning that he was mostly libertarian. I mean, everybody knew. It was no surprise, but Rand Paul had a real opportunity because he actually was wearing his camouflage. A lot of people had confused him for a real Republican, and now I think that he's come so far out in the open with this speech that I don't think he can possibly recover from it. I don't think he'll get the nomination, and I guess I want to say it's unfortunate, but at the same time, personally, I support anarchy, so I wouldn't vote for him anyway. But then again, I did vote for Ron Paul.
I think you would.
I mean, I would have. Well, I would have voted for Ron Paul. That's what I meant. I would have voted for Ron Paul had it been an option, but I don't know. The only two candidates that I have ever found even worth voting for were Ross Perot and Ron Paul. And other than that, I don't think I'd honestly come out to vote for anybody else. I think voting.
The first candidate I ever voted for was Gary Johnson here in New Mexico as his run for governor, and I was really glad that he did what I wanted him to do, which was to veto and veto and veto and veto some more, and then do some more vetoing. He vetoed more bills than all the other governors in the United States during the same time period, combined, all the rest of them. So, to me...
But there's been a large discussion of whether he just wanted to get into office and was using the Libertarian Party in order to be able to get into office and get some publicity, but he wasn't actually full libertarian. What do you think?
Well, he went in as a Republican,
right?
And I don't think that he was particularly that vocal about his libertarian leanings. He got a very large part of he got the Republican people behind him, and he was able to at least have an opponent that he could show as being potentially corrupt or certainly not a person who represented the people, and so he was able to win. I don't think that he is exactly a libertarian in the same way that, let's say, Ron Paul or Rand Paul might be. I don't know if Rand Paul is either, but the fact is that he did do some good when he was here. He actually helped get the budget, down so that we were able to develop a surplus of funds in the government. Now, obviously, when it comes to being an anarchist, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I definitely believe that we should have no government at all. And then the question comes up, well, what do you do about voting? I mean, is voting considered to be an act of violence or whatever? To me, we're stuck in a dungeon with people having guns to our head saying, you're going to play Monopoly. And if you're forced to play Monopoly and the only thing that you can do is, move your piece around the board and buy properties and collect $200 for House and Go, well, you got to do it. And we are stuck in that same paradigm where we have to do those things that we can do to try to survive. And that means I know that there are anarchists who are completely against using any of the state services for, let's say, receiving money from, welfare, things of that nature. No, use it. Suck as much money as you can out of the system. Take it.
Well, yeah, you've already paid into the system. I mean, that was one of the things that a lot of people had against Ayn Rand was that he ended up taking Social Security. Yeah. And so but the thing is that she makes a really proper defense for it. She had paid into it for years, and she might as well try and get some of her money back.
Well, I don't think that her argument was as good as it could have been. I mean, realistically, if we look at how Social Security functions, the way it's supposed to work, your money pays for your parents or grandparents. It's already gone, and so the idea is that she's actually using, her generation's children or their grandchildren to pay for herself. That's kind of what is actually going on there, and I don't like her defense of that. But saying that I'm actually taking money from a system that I'm forced to participate in, which she also said, if she's being forced to participate in the system, why wouldn't she actually take the tools that they force her to use and use them to her best advantage? She is forced into the system, so if you're going to have a rational self-interest, you're going to use the tools that you're forced to use for your own best interest, and so she did.
Agreed.
I have no problem with her using it, but I don't like the idea of saying I paid into the system because I'm getting my money back. She wasn't getting her money back. Her money was already spent by her parents or grandparents.
Right. You make some really good points. I think that she could have made a much stronger defense for it. I guess I should write a piece on that. I'm sure my audience will have quite a few questions after hearing me discuss that, because I'm sure a few of them probably didn't even know that she had Social Security. But one of the other things I want to talk about is, did you know, Robert?
Let's. I have to wrap up with what it was that we were talking about.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, when it comes to voting, though, we're not talking about taking money out of the system that's screwing us and trying to bankrupt them. So how do I justify the idea of voting? Well, I mean, realistically, there are candidates who run on a platform that says, I'm going to vote to repeal laws. I'm going to go on a platform that says I'm going to veto things until they are smaller government-style actions. And then there are also even people who will say, if I were elected into office, that I would pardon certain populations in the prison system that are nonviolent criminals. They're not really criminals. They're people who are nonviolent, who have not done anything. There's no victim. So pardoning these people and releasing them is a great thing for freedom. And the fact is that if I know that there are people who are held in bondage, who I can actually make, I can not just vote, but actually go out and talk to people and try to persuade other people to vote. A single vote doesn't make much of a difference. But if you make a concerted effort to spread the message and convince a lot of people to go with you to vote, to make a very large movement that causes these votes to actually happen, and we're talking about a politician who actually has a significant change in mind, where they're saying, I will pardon these people. they will be released. Then I don't see how you can ethically, how I morally can say I can't vote for that. You have to try to save these people who are suffering in bondage.
Well, but then again, the argument can be made you're voting for your own master. And one of the things that I want to point out while we're on the topic is that cages are for animals, and that I am a thinking and cognizant human being and don't deserve to be put in a cage in the first place. And so logically standing, no one should need to free any of these people. They should just be free. And I see your point, and I get your point that we should be promoting individuals into office that would free people, but at the same time, it feels like giving credence to a system that doesn't work and is putting people in cages. And I don't truly believe that anyone can go into office and not do further damage, and more damage than good. I think that any person that is ever put into office is going to do things because of their desire for power, because everybody that goes into office has a desire for power. It is undeniable. And you have to. People see that in you. But the thing is that if you go in for that power, then you're going to end up corrupting the system even more than you end up saving the system. And I don't have any faith in the system, and I don't think that it is possible to go into office and not do more damage than good.
Well, if you look at Adam Kokesh's run for president, we know that he's not necessarily going to win. And using that as a platform to send, to provide education to the populace who are completely uninformed is also a good thing. And so, right. Yes, I would say voting for somebody like Adam Kokesh, or like we did with Ron Paul with his run for president. We're sending a message to the people that are out there, hey, this is not just a flash in the pan, this is not just bullshit. We actually have a movement of people who are willing to stand behind.
I'm glad that Kokesh has run and made that appearance and been able to motivate the masses in a way and intellectually inspire them. But at the same time, the reason that the Adam Kokeshes and the Ron Pauls and the Ross Perot's of the world don't win is because they don't have the drive for power. The people that win are the people that have a drive for power. If somebody wins, they're going to essentially go into government and do more harm than good. I don't agree with the system. I think that it's set up for those who have a severe drive for power, and those who don't have a severe drive for power can't win. So, but anyway, one of the other things I want to talk about, because I want to move on a little bit so we can cover a few more topics, is did you know, Robert, that there are now 3D pancakes? And this may seem silly, like that we're bringing up 3D pancakes because, you know, pancakes, but think about it. We're 3D printing food. The implications of this is just undeniably cool. I mean, we could solve world hunger. That's incredible. What do you think, Robert?
Well, you know, I think that in the case of the 3D printing pancakes, I mean, basically, we already could do that using certain, you know, if you just make a form, you know, like, haven't you ever like made a pancake where you take your cookie cutters and you use them as to make your pancake shaped like a bear or something like that? Well, you can do the same thing in a three-dimensional way, as long as it's got the ability to be taken apart so that you can get to the pancake. You know, you can use molds to do that. But you know, when you're actually 3D printing a pancake, you still have to have the pancake mix to print with. So it's not actually creating food.
Good point.
Yeah, but
do you think we'll ever get to the point where we can print food from?
Oh yeah. There's actually currently 3D printing of muscle. Yeah, and so if you can make the materials that you have that you're going to use for creating whatever it is be more transportable, then that and not be able to spoil, for example, then you can create 3D printing of actual food stuffs.
So Do you think this is a step in the direction of solving world hunger? Do you think that
Yeah.
it's just kind of
Oh yeah,
cool?
definitely. I mean, one of the biggest problems that you have with transportation of food is perishability, and if you don't have to worry about perishability because all of your components are essentially base, uh, base components, base elements, or let's say you've got a certain chemical compound that you've got in a liquid form that you can put together with another chemical compound in a liquid form that are completely non-perishable in their separate liquid forms, but when you put them together they actually form some sort of food stuff that can be eaten. Well, yeah, that's great. It makes the perishability problem no longer a problem. It solves that.
Awesome.
But we're also getting to the point where I don't know if they call it this, but I consider to call it 4D printing, which basically what it does is it uses there are printers that currently are capable of doing atomic structure, where you can print a new atom using different molecules. So, I mean, you can print it's not an atom. You can print a particular combination of you got hydrogen and carbon and oxygen, and you can mix them all together, and you can make yourself a molecule of whatever. And so, at some point, we're going to be, I think, we're going to be able to print using the elements and actually combine the elements in a way that we have what it is that we want. And so, yes, like a replicator from Star Trek is not something that I don't that can't happen. I believe that it can happen. Now, is the energy requirements for such a thing going to be too high? I don't know. But realistically, energy is one of the things that we can create a ton of. We have this nuclear power station called the sun that just cranks out tons and tons and tons of energy. So maybe we'll have to figure out how to use that a little more efficiently. We don't currently harvest the solar power that we can, but we definitely can achieve a lot if we can increase the amount of energy that we have available to work with. And people who are against nuclear power, they need to get this through their head. Energy saves lives, and nuclear power is not a bad thing.
I think banning anything is honestly a bad thing because most resources can be used for something good and something bad. There's always two sides to a coin. But
Yeah.
I want to go ahead, now that we've informed our audience about 3D printing, and discuss the topic that we promised the audience. So when Cathy asked me to do the show at pretty much the last minute, I decided that I was going to address the concern that the audience had about my position on polyamory. And one of those concerns, one of the major concerns, was that objectivism is not compatible with sleeping around. And I want to solve both of those. So first of all, sleeping around is not the term that I would use for what it is that polyamorous people do. So polyamorous people want to create a bond, want to create a stable environment for everyone involved in the situation. So I don't find that sleeping around is even close to creating a loving and adoring bond between a group of people. And second of all, the other issue was that of morality. So having multiple partners is something that Dagny Taggart did, and I say that in quotations because she sort of skipped around very quickly to different partners and left other partners, and I think honestly polyamory probably would have solved her situation because she did love all three of these men, and though she wasn't having intimate relationships with them, she was in fact polyamorous because she did still love them. Also, the other thing is that objectivism states very clearly that the reason to be intimate with somebody is your value of them. So sex is a transfer of values between one another. So if I find my relationship with you to be valuable on an intimate level, then I should pursue that in my rational self-interest. So I just want to debunk the theory that objectivism is against sleeping around or polyamory, because it's absolutely not. It's in fact more pro-polyamory. So what do you think, Robert, of what I've just said?
Well, I think they're two different topics. One being, the polyamory thing. I do think that, realistically, to try to get all of your needs met by one specific person is a bit short-sighted. You're not going to find that, you're going to have a perfect relationship with one single person who wants to go to the same music concerts that you go to. They enjoy the same music that you do. So that's cool. They also have a compatible physical interaction when you have, we get into the bedroom. Okay, that you got to have that, and then they also share your same political ideology as well. There's that. Okay, and then they share the same religion, and then they also like to go dancing, with you and do the same dance. This is ridiculous to have a person who matches all these different things that you're going to want. It's just, maybe they have a different taste in food. They don't like spicy food, or they don't like pork, or, they're vegan. I mean, blow my mind. I can't ever imagine having a relationship with a vegan unless I also had a relationship with somebody who was able to eat meat, because I'm going to want to eat meat.
Agreed.
So,
It opens you to so many more relationships with so many different people, because you can find those compatibility levels with so many different people in so many different respects. I think it just creates a much more fulfilling relationship.
yeah, absolutely. And, you've got this dynamic where in some cases you may not necessarily want to have, each person in their own separate worlds. Maybe together, all three of you, or all four of you, or all 7 or 20 of you can come together and be more productive when it comes to taking care of children, to providing a household that has fun activities that are available all the time, to providing a getaway for people to get away. Like, if I've got a relationship with 4 other people and one of them happens to own a cabin in the woods that I can go and get away to, then great, we can share in that, and then somebody can come over and watch, movies on my awesome big TV that I've got hooked up with the internet, and being able to watch any TV show anytime I want, or any movie that I want. So, I can share that. So we've got all these different things that we bring to the table, and it allows us to not only diversify our experiences, but also to take some of the load off from each other so that we don't burn out. A lot of times people can burn out on how much they're interacting with another person. If you've taken a road trip with, let's say, in my case, it was a church thing where we were going out to somewhere in Texas to do a performance. Well, this entire road trip we're going on, you got all these people stuck together, jammed together, and everybody's getting on each other's nerves eventually. Well, this happens in real relationships as well. If you're stuck together with 1 or 2 people all the time and you don't get any breaks, then you can go nuts.
Agreed. So we're actually running out of time, so I just want to make one more point clear before I go ahead and let Robert pitch where you can find him and where you can find me. One of the things, and I think Robert will agree with me, that people think is that polyamory has nothing to do with libertarianism, and that's not true. All things have to do with libertarianism. Everything has to do with being free, and polyamory is another freedom that people would like to pursue. There are plenty of people who would like to be recognized by the government if we're going to have government marriages. I don't think that's preferable, but would like to have their relationship recognized just as much as everybody else's love. And so, Robert, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Absolutely. I am the co-host of Voluntary Virtues, and that is available 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. You can check this out at voluntaryvirtues.com. I also have a follow-up show after that show completes. Any participants on that show will continue to converse with us if they would like to in at Voluntary Virtues After Hours with the crew. That's me, where we continue to talk about the different subjects that we had, criticize or praise the guests that we might have had on the show, and just continue the conversation for an hour. And that would directly follow that show. And then also I am working together with Michael so that we can get a call-in number for people to call into any of the shows that are on the Voluntary Virtues Network, so that I can put together what is kind of like a parallel to the atheist experience, if you've ever heard of that, where people can call in and pose their questions and basically debate me, and I'm going to have various different guests sharing the airtime with me, where we will discuss the idea of anarchy and anarcho-capitalism with people who are calling in with criticisms. There's been several people who have said that they would join me and jump on in there. I don't know who I'm going to have first, but definitely at some point I'm hoping to have Larkin Rose or Christopher Cantwell and maybe Cathy Reisenwitz. All these different people who will come on and help to assuage all of those concerns that statists might have, or to debunk some of this wrong-headed thinking that you get from RBE supporters and things like that.
Right.
And that showtime will be on Sundays, and we're working out the hours. I forget what time, but we're looking forward to that.
Awesome. So again, my name is Lauren Rumpler. I host Objectivist Girl, and you can check that out on my Facebook page. Also, you can check out my new show, Hearts and Minds, on the Voluntary Virtues Network at 6 p.m., and Objectivist Girl will also follow that. I have a show called True Objective that'll be on hiatus for the next few weeks, so make sure that you like True Objective on Facebook so that you can get more information. And I'm probably I'll have a new co-host when we start back up because Carlos had to leave. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, and remember, knowledge is not for all men, but for those who seek it, so keep seeking.